Morning, Paul. How you doing?
Yeah, good morning, Dan. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. So thanks for joining me. So this, obviously, as we know, is a special episode of the How2-Change Words of Wisdom podcast, where we're doing a review of the first 10 episodes. So what I'd like to say for starters is a massive thank you to all of the guests that have given up their time. It's a real example of paying it forwards. There's nothing in it for them so much as distilling that one single best piece of advice and then sharing it so that hopefully other people can benefit. So we're going to each talk about some of our reflections. I'm going to cover off some of the lessons learned from the first 10 as I think a demonstration that things don't have to be perfect from the off. You can improve iteratively. So Paul, maybe you want to do a quick intro and then dive into your reflections.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. My name's Paul Sherwood, and I have a consultancy called Minds Ally. And I work with leaders and teams to help them unlock potential that's already there for high performance, for leadership through coaching and training. So my reflections, Dan. So firstly, I would recommend watch the podcasts. They're great. There's some absolute golden nuggets in there. And in terms of what I do working with organizations, I'll often talk about, we're human beings, we're not human doings. And each one of the bite-sized golden nuggets of wisdom that came through each time. And I've made a list of some of the things. Giving a gift to yourself, not chasing status, our interpersonal relationships with other people. And each one of those people, given the breadth and depth of their professional experience and the years that they've worked, not one of the bits of advice were around transactions. It wasn't embedded in business. It was all about interpersonal relationships with self, and then how they engage with other people. And time again, we had these words that were very values driven. So it was very behavioral. It's how do we put this stuff into action when we're with other people? And what I loved about most of them actually is how long ago the advice was given to them, and the opportunity that you've given all of us actually to reflect on actually, when did I get that advice? Who was it from? And how have I put it into practice? And there was a few of them that actually talked about when they haven't put into practice the impact it's made. So there's that opportunity about what happens when I don't do this? What happens when I don't follow this advice? So as a clear example of, knowledge isn't knowledge until it's in the muscle. You could quite clearly see from the guests that they live and breathe this stuff. It's part of their unconscious behavior. They do it every day. So there's some really powerful bits of wisdom and advice in there. So really thanks, Dan, for bringing that to everyone to be able to experience.
No, you're welcome. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure because I've got to sit back and say very little, but listen. And each one of these nuggets of wisdom is phenomenal. And I think I probably mentioned to you the whole reason for doing the podcast was I've been doing this informally for a number of years and picked up some fantastic pieces of advice, but I'm the only guy that's benefited. So no, honestly, it's been a real privilege. I mean, when I think back over some of the things, we've had Anthony focusing on authenticity, we've had Tony's clever wordplay, but with real depth in terms of people won't care what you know until they know that you care. And I just thought that was brilliant. It's kind of pithy, but has real depth to it. We've got resilience and courage. So Min was talking about the importance of stepping outside of your comfort zone, and then Pip finding the courage of her convictions, which I think was a timely reminder that a lot of growth comes from discomfort and uncertainty. It isn't always necessarily, as we might put it, towards motivation, so much as I don't like a certain thing and I'm going to do something to move away from it. I thought reflection and self-awareness, we've got Robin's advice, very sage advice to avoid gossip and instead focus on finding your own shortcomings and focusing on what to do about them. And one of the things that really struck me when I thought about all of these 10 is we talked about the algorithm of life and how sometimes the stars kind of align. There was an awful lot of similarity and overlap between these first 10 episodes and one of my favorite poems, which, if you'll indulge me for a second, I'd quite like to read. So, If by Rudyard Kipling. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about. Don't deal in lies or being hated. Don't give way to hating. And yet, don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they're gone, and so hold on when there's nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And, which is more, you'll be a man, my son. I think the poem just beautifully encapsulates all of the themes. And as you look over the key messages from all of the people, you can find a real correlation with every single one of them in that poem somewhere. I know you like the poem as well. Is there a particular part of it that strikes you?
It's all of it. It's the message and the flow of it. I've actually got it just out of camera shot on my wall in the office it's the original copy from when I was a scout. And for me, it's I love poetry. It's the meaning and the message and the emotional connection and the calmness with which actually, what if we approached some of these things, and when you reflect on some of the conversations that you've had with guests, it's actually, are we going to die doing this stuff? Actually, let's take time out to reflect. Let's take a deep breath and let's approach it with a different mindset or a different emotional connection to what we're trying to do here. And it's that just asking the question, if.
Yeah. It's incredibly powerful, and it's almost like life's journey, isn't it? If you can do all of these things, you've done all right.
But also without contracting us to, you have to do all of these things, otherwise you're a failure. It's an invitation. It's an invitation to explore the different elements of the poem, just as the podcast series is an invitation to explore the different things that we can take away from it.
Yeah, fantastic. So, Paul, really appreciate your time. And just in closing, I wanted to reflect on a couple of the lessons learned. So, hopefully everyone's enjoyed the episode so far. I suspect you may have had to bear with sound quality that could have been better, and starting to do something about that. Likewise, the lighting hopefully has started to improve, at least on this side. I was looking a little bit blue because of the fish tank on occasions. And I'd like to do a shout out to Keith Amos for being really brave as the first person to do two truths and a lie, which I think is quite a nice addition to this. I think it helps to add a little bit of intrigue. Have you found that that's worked well, Paul?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, oh, that's interesting. I want to find out more about that person. So it's not just about the message they're sharing. There's a little bit of, oh, that's definitely a mystery.
Yeah. Well, great. Thank you very much again. And here's the next 10. Really appreciate your help, Paul. Thanks.
Very welcome. Thanks, Dan.